Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Great. Glad you brought your voices this morning. Welcome to First Unitarian. My name is Kamari Johnson, and I am pleased to be your celebration associate this morning. I'd like to begin today's service with something a little different, which is why I'm glad you have your voices. I'd like to do a small tribute to the late Reverend Jesse Jackson. So I'm hoping that you can help me honor his legacy by participating in my version, our version, of his well-known National Black Litany, I Am Somebody. And may you draw strength and courage from these words. Okay. So it is a call and response. I'm hoping some of you know it. And I really want you to bring your voices and repeat after me. I am somebody. Somebody. I am somebody. Somebody. I may be older. I may be older. I may be young. I may be young. But I am. Somebody. Somebody. I may make a mistake. I may make a mistake. But I am. Somebody. Somebody. My clothes may be different. My clothes may be different. My body may be different. My body may be different. My hair may be different. My hair may be different. But I am. Somebody. Somebody. I must be respected. I must be accepted. Accepted. Never rejected. Never rejected. Because I am. Because I am. Somebody. Somebody. I am. Somebody. Somebody. Thank you all. Our theme for March is paying attention. What are you paying attention to? What would you like to pay attention to? We have many activities this week, so please read the announcements in your order of service or check the sanctuary screens to learn more. If you are new or visiting for the first time, I invite you to stop by the welcome table in the parlor after the service, located through the wooden doors to my right. This is where we usually have coffee, snacks, and conversation after the service. And in the spirit of intentionally gathering in community, please take a moment to take out your cell phone and switch them to silence, please. And now, let's take a moment to greet those around us. Okay, I'd like to invite Bob Nickerson down. He'll be assisting with our chalice lighting today. Thank you, Bob. And please join me in saying the chalice lighting words. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action.
Good morning, beloveds. Today, in UU congregations all over the world, people will gather in an effort to live into, as best we can, what we profess about placing love at the center of all we do. What a magnificent challenge. We are currently living in times baiting us not to love. The social and political atmosphere in which we travel insidiously tempts us to find fault, place blame, point fingers, and increase that which can tear us apart. And yet, we practice a faith, often imperfectly, because after all, we're only human. But we continue to practice a faith where we are called to answer the question, what is the most loving thing I can do right now? What an astounding challenge. What an unbelievably vital attempt. What an incredibly needed beacon for the future of us all. So we gather today to support each other in living this mission. May the light of our flaming chalice breathe life and love into every one of our congregations and into those who, by the very nature of this calling, have this great and wonderful opportunity to live into love in these days filled with so many struggles and yet so much possibility. May it be so. I'm going to invite our young people down who are helping with our baskets for our Side with Love to come on forward this morning. And I'm going to invite the rest of you to rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, which is 1023 in your teal hymnal, or you can find the words on the screens behind me. This one's a round, friends. That's why there's 4 of us up here. And I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, here we go.
You're mine.
Building bridges beneath our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me with all our voices and all of our visions? Friends, we can make
You may be seated.
I loved that. How fun was that? Good morning, everyone. Laura, is this your pencil? Pencil needing people? Good morning, good morning. I'm gonna get myself a chair this time because my jeans are a little too tight for sitting on the floor. All right. I have two asks today before I invite the young people up. One is that we need a nursery volunteer today. One of our nursery workers is sick, and so she wasn't able to make it in. And then I could also use support in the youth room, the middle school youth room. They are studying Islam, so if that's something that sparks fire in your heart, we could use your support today. But if that doesn't apply for you, then I would like to invite any young people or people who are feeling young at heart to join me on a stage for a time of wonder. Low energy. I was feeling calm in here. Hi, Ruthie. Welcome, welcome. See a pillow. How'd that make it downstairs? It's a really great question this morning. You guys exploring? Hi, Lisa. Good morning. Are you going to join them? Great. I appreciate it. I love it. Awesome. All right, well, we are reading We Disagree by Bethany Dini Murgria. Hello. Hello. Do you like figs? Oh, no. I don't. I snack on twigs. Thank you, Emily. They are on the screens today. Do you like blue and polka dots? No, I like red. I don't like spots. Do you like newts and toads and frogs? No way. I just like prairie dogs. Do you like warm and sunny skies? I prefer gray. Sun hurts my eyes. Do you like skates? Do you like bikes? I don't like wheels. I'd rather hike. You must like flutes, guitars, and drums. No, no, and no. I'd rather hum. Hum, hum-dee-dum. What's wrong with blue? What's wrong with frogs? What's wrong with gray and prairie dogs? We don't agree. We can't be friends. There's nothing more. This is the end. What do you guys think about that? Just lots of shaking heads. Just no. Yes, I agree. Wait. What did you say? What happened next? What happens next? We just agreed. I'm quite perplexed. We're not the same. Indeed, that's true. Agreed again! But why choose blue? Well, blue is sea and blue is sky, but red is leaves and cherry pie. Hey, let's disagree more. Let's disagree, yes. be a reminder to us all not to get stuck on the blue and polka dots or the red stuff. And we have one more thing to do before we leave the stage. Do you guys remember? The Wonder Box, I love that. They were like, circle back to the beginning where you didn't open the Wonder Box, Madeline. We don't have items in the Wonder Box today. But there's one more additional thing that we do at the end of Time for Wonder that's new-ish. Lantern. Usually you guys are like, fire! Yeah, I missed the fire this time. Thank you, we needed it. Okay, can I get one volunteer to show me calm body and that you can maybe light the fire of the lantern so we can bring... Eli's like, this is my resume, I'm 14, I'm very reliable. Eli, would you like to light the lantern today? All right. Come on over here.
Okay, how does this work? I'll just take...
Okay, you're gonna take the short one, and you're gonna use the flame from our community chalice. And lighting this lantern symbolizes, what am I trying to say here? Symbolizes that RE is a connection of this great, beautiful community. Beautiful. Now, young people, you can head out to the parlor. And if your adults have not signed you out yet, you guys can also join us in the parlor. And for all the rest of you, you can sing us out with Where You Go, the words of which you can find on our lovely screens or in the back of your gray hymnal.
Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. And your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. You're divine, my divine.
Good morning, everyone. I've been thinking about this rather important time of joys and sorrows in our community this week. And I was like praying for some joys to share. Outside of the fact that we finally had some warmth and sun yesterday, I do have two joys to share. One being the introduction of the Ithaca Resistance Singers here in Ithaca. Yes. Just like in Minnesota, we are here now in Ithaca, and we have a chance to sing together, to be together, to have our voices be heard. And I learned in that group that this was a crucial time during World War II when they had resistance singers, and it is one of the reasons why things changed. So come be part of it. There's fun, there's very great leaders. You don't need to know the words, they will teach you. It's a big joy in our community. The other joy I want to share, first of all, I think what's lovely about our community is that we take sorrows and we turn them into joys. Barbara Lang wrote to me and said, please announce the joy and thanks to Jess Brown for the emailing information on how to assist the 300 plus people being convicted from the Asteri building that's just off the Commons. Jess's email was a gift for being of service by offering good, orderly direction. If you have items to donate, please bring them to the democracy table after the service. So I love that people can take what's hard in our world and turn it into what feels like a way for us to give. At this time, I also have a sorrow to share with our community of a beloved member that I know will hit for many of you. Last night, Jim Garbarino passed away suddenly in his sleep. His wife, Carrie, is out of the country, and she's coming home and wanted the community to know of his passing.
For those of you who didn't know him, I'm just going to say one statement on how he affected my life. His work was with the forgotten children. I'm sure there will be a celebration of his life, and I saved the sorrow for us to be able to go into meditation to wish him well on his journey.
Let us take a few moments, friends, to process this news, to hold one another and Jim's family, and just take a few moments of silence. Many of us have seen some version of a Love Thy Neighbor sign or banner. There's one on the Unitarian Universalist Association website that reads, "We love our neighbors, immigrant, LGBTQ, of color, with disabilities, of any and all faith." And we nod our heads because, of course, love is at the center of this faith, and we lift up the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. The United Church of Christ has a version that is similar that reads, "Love your neighbor, no matter their mental health challenge, no matter their immigration status, no matter their sexual orientation, no matter their economic status, no matter their gender identity, no matter their disability, no matter their religion, no matter their race. Love your neighbor, no exceptions." And still, we agree. Of course, we love our neighbors no matter what. I found another version that read, "Love your neighbor who doesn't look like you, think like you, love like you, speak like you, pray like you, vote like you." Love your neighbor, no exceptions. And I wonder, are we nodding still? Or are we suddenly feeling discomfort? Is it harder to love our neighbors who have voted for people or policies that have caused direct harm to those we love or ourselves? Is it harder to love our neighbors who pray for the erasure of transgender people? Is it harder to love our neighbors who think that the current treatment of immigrants is justified because they may not have followed immigration law? Is it harder to love our neighbors who speak words filled with blatant racism? Is it harder to love in the face of hate? Let us now lift up a prayer for all of those whom it is hard to love. Spirit of love, help us to see the humanity in those whose beliefs are diametrically opposed to our own. Help us to remember that your love does not waver and ours must not either. We need not agree with one another to offer love. Spirit of change, let the love that we offer be patient and kind. Let it be a love that soothes hurts and reminds us that we are all broken and beautiful and worthy. Let it be a love that reaches out in friendship instead of anger and transforms hearts and minds. Spirit of peace, comfort us when the love that we offer is not received. And remind us that we can love from a distance. We can hold firm to our principles and our beliefs and still offer a prayer for those whose suffering has caused them to see the world through a lens of pain and distrust. Let us send up a prayer to those whom it can be hard to love. I invite you to follow the sound of the singing bowl into a time of silence.
Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters.
Each week, we take an offering to sustain the important ministries and programs of this congregation and its presence in Ithaca. Giving to the plate is important. It's a symbol of our gratitude for this service and our ongoing commitment to support the work of this church. For those watching remotely, please follow the instructions on the screen. And for those attending in person, our ushers will pass the plate.
By love
Everyone, please join me in saying the offertory words. May these gifts bring about connection, inspiration, and engagement within these walls and beyond.
It turns out it's extremely difficult to draw close to someone you find absolutely abhorrent. How do we listen to someone when their beliefs are disgusting or enraging or terrifying? An invisible wall forms between us and them, a chasm that seems impossible to cross. We don't even know why we should try to cross it. In these moments, we can choose to remember that the goal of listening is not to feel empathy for our opponents or validate their ideas or even change their mind in the moment. Our goal is to understand them. When listening gets hard, I focus on taking the next breath. I pay attention to sensations in my body: heat, cold, clenching, constriction. I feel the ground beneath my feet. Am I safe? If so, I stay and slow my breath again, quiet my mind, and release the pressure that pushes me to defend my position. I try to wonder about this person's story and the possible wound in them. I think of an earnest question and try to stay curious long enough to be changed by what I hear. Maybe, just maybe, my opponent will begin to wonder about me in return, ask me questions, and listen to my story. Maybe their views will start to break apart and new horizons will open in the process. Then again, maybe not. It doesn't matter as long as the primary goal of listening is to deepen my own understanding. Listening does not grant the other side legitimacy. It grants them humanity and preserves our own. How often have you found yourself in a position where you're struggling to connect with a friend, family member, or loved one because they hold different beliefs or viewpoints? Or maybe you found yourself in an awkward conversation with a stranger or acquaintance or coworker who's suddenly espousing their views on politics. What do we do in these situations? Have you ever tried to change someone's mind? How did that go for you? Yeah. When this happens to me, I find myself caught off guard and flustered, making eloquent responses such as, "Oh, not really sure what to say," not wanting to get into an argument and feeling deeply uncomfortable. Sometimes that discomfort has to do with having my own preconceived notions and assumptions about what other people believe challenged. Sometimes the discomfort is because even though I know the person that I'm with holds conflicting views to my own, I care about them deeply, and I don't want to damage our relationship. There are several people in my life that I love dearly that I know do not vote the same way that I do. A few years ago, and this was deep in the midst of our social distancing during the pandemic, I was at a park because we could be together safely outside at that point, right? And I think it was, if I'm remembering correctly, Sampson State Park over on Seneca Lake. And I was there with my kids and some of their cousins and a few of my relatives that I'm close with. The adults were sitting talking as the kids played in the water, and at one point, one of these women that I was there with said, "Fox News is the only station that tells the truth." And I was so shocked. I said, "Do you really believe that?" And their answer was this emphatic yes, that all of the other news stations lie. At this point, an argument started between them and another person that I was there with, and I think I excused myself to go make sure that the children weren't drowning, which, if I'm being perfectly honest, probably has a lot to do with my discomfort and tendency to avoid conflict, something that I am aware of and I am actively working on, friends. But this person truly believed, and I'm sure still does believe, that Fox News is the only station that tells the truth. When you hold values like justice and equity and interdependence, how do you have a real and meaningful conversation with someone that believes that Fox News is the only station that isn't lying? Someone that, if you tried to show them one of those media bias charts, do you know what I'm talking about? It has like left and right on one side, and it has like facts versus fabrication or inaccurate information, right, on the other axis. If you tried to show them that chart, they would undoubtedly say that the chart itself was biased and wrong, right? So how do we have these conversations? Uncomfortable conversations. Conversations that are deep and meaningful with people whose views run counter to our UU values. One of the first things that we have to do, if we're even going to attempt to talk about differing views, is to let go of our need to be right, right? If we enter into a conversation with the goal of proving that we are right and the other person is wrong, there is no possibility of anything meaningful coming out of this conversation. And the internet is filled with posts and memes and videos, especially of people owning other people, you know what I'm talking about? That is proving them wrong in some humiliating way, right? Shouting facts at them, twisting their words in such a way to show just how inaccurate and invalid their point of view is, until the other person is left flustered and unable to respond. And we watch these videos and laugh and nod our heads, assuming that the person getting owned isn't the one we want to win. But really, the algorithms don't show us those, do they? No, they show us the ones that confirm our own beliefs, because it feels good to be right. But I can guarantee you, that person who was shut down and humiliated, they didn't change their mind. In fact, it probably just reinforced their belief. David Robson wrote the following: research out of the University of Winnipeg and University of Illinois of Chicago has shown that rude behavior is far more likely to alienate the person you want to persuade than change their opinion. And it may even disaffect people who were already coming around to your point of view. They describe this as the Montague principle. I love this, named after the 18th century English aristocrat, Lady Mary Wortley Montague, who declared that civility costs nothing and buys everything. In the late 2000s, Francis Chen and colleagues at Stanford University invited students to engage in an online debate about whether the university should introduce a new set of exams. Unsurprisingly, many of the students were dead set against the idea. Crucially, they thought that they were chatting with their peers, but their debating partners were really the experimenters themselves, who followed very rigid scripts that varied depending on whether the person was in the experimental group or the control group. In half of the conversations, the experimenters asked the students to elaborate on their views. For example, they might listen to the student's argument and then respond, "I'm really interested in what you're saying. Can you tell me more about why you think that?" For the other trials, the conversation did not include any request for information about the participants' beliefs. It was a tiny change in the script, but the addition of that single question changed the whole tone of the debate by provoking a considerably more open-minded response from the participants. They were more willing to continue the conversation and to receive further information on the other person's arguments. People want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to feel like they matter. They want to feel like their point of view matters. And the truth is, when you get down to the foundation of what it is that shapes us and our beliefs, it all comes from the same place, right? Fear. And I say that not because I believe that we're all ruled by fear, although the state of the world has certainly kept that emotion at the forefront for me recently, but because when you look at the places where we are the most divided, immigration, healthcare, trans rights, abortion, the economy, those issues are in many ways about safety, whichever side of the debate you're on. People who oppose immigration are afraid. They're afraid because of the messages that they have received telling them that immigrants are dangerous and violent, but also the messages that they are a threat to their economic safety, right? People who support immigration and immigrants in our communities are afraid of ICE and the violence being perpetrated against people by this administration. And they're afraid for themselves or their neighbors and loved ones who face deportation and the possibility of violence and harm in the countries that they fled from to begin with. And this is true for all of these issues, that safety or the lack of safety is at the root of these conflicts. We all need a certain level of safety to be able to operate in the world. What is it that you need to feel safe? Darren Abrahams shared that safety is the primary need of all people, whether they consciously know it or not, hardwired into the human brain and nervous system from womb to tomb. The need transcends culture, gender, religion, nationality, and race. It shows up in boardrooms and classrooms, in dining rooms and locker rooms, professionally, personally, and socially. Safety dictates health outcomes, educational attainment, and financial success. It is promised by governments, drives elections, and writes policy. Although sometimes guaranteed, it can be easily and suddenly taken away. A shadow in a dark alley, the raising of a voice, a new law targeting a particular identity group, a declaration of war. The idea of safety for one group can and has and is being used as an excuse to take away the safety of another. The need for safety connects us as a species and drives our behavior, because feeling safe or not feeling safe is the foundation of every other life experience and can be the difference between stagnation and flourishing, conflict and peace. Safety is the primary need of all people, and the fear of a lack of safety is the tool that is used to divide us. Because we all love our kids. We love our partners and our parents, our friends and our neighbors, and we want them to be safe. We want to be safe. Remember, the mom who is vocally opposed to trans kids using the correct bathroom is frightened for her children. And whether that fear comes from a place of real danger or from propaganda, that doesn't make the feeling less true for them. Anais Nin is attributed with saying, "We don't see things as they are, we see things as we are." We cannot understand one another unless we listen, truly and deeply listen, without an agenda, without planning our next response, without trying to win or be right. David Robson reminds us that by demonstrating genuine curiosity, sharing your personal experiences, and maintaining a civil attitude, you may be surprised by your potential to connect and gain a wiser worldview in the process. Listening affords us the opportunity to better understand one another, especially when we listen to one another's stories. Stories are one of the fundamental ways that we understand and make sense of this world. And we see this in the sacred texts from world religions. We have the story of Jesus' resurrection, the Great Flood, a story which shows up in Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism, the Buddhist tale of the grieving woman and the mustard seed. Stories teach us so much more than facts and figures. In fact, research tells us that statistical arguments are much less likely to persuade others to shift their opinions than listening and sharing stories. Keith Bellizzi wrote, "Facts first" is the tagline of a CNN branding campaign that contends that once facts are established, opinions can be formed. The problem is that while that sounds logical, this appealing assertion is a fallacy not supported by research. Cognitive psychology and neuroscience studies have found the exact opposite is often true when it comes to politics. People form opinions based on emotions, such as fear, contempt, and anger, rather than relying on facts. New facts often do not change people's minds. For many people, a challenge to their worldview feels like an attack on their personal identity and can cause them to harden their position. Being presented with facts, whether via the news, social media, or one-on-one conversations that suggest their current beliefs are wrong, causes people to feel threatened. This reaction is particularly strong when the beliefs in question are aligned with their political and personal identities. It can feel like an attack on you if one of your strongly held beliefs is challenged. Confronting facts that don't align with your worldview may trigger a backfire effect, which can end up strengthening your original position and beliefs, particularly with politically charged issues, right? Researchers have identified this phenomenon in a number of studies, including ones about opinions toward climate change mitigation policies and attitudes towards childhood vaccines. As much as we may want them to, facts don't change people's minds. And spouting off facts at someone certainly doesn't invite real connection and conversation. To do that, we have to listen. Anna Goodman reminds us that there will always be people in the world who have different opinions, values, and beliefs from our own. But this shouldn't stop us from listening to those we know we disagree with, even if we think it's unlikely that they're going to change our minds. Stay firm in your values. Center love and justice and equity, but don't tolerate abuse and hatred. You don't need to stay in a situation and listen to someone who is saying things that are racist or sexist or transphobic. That's not healthy for you or them. And remember, when we talk about reaching out to people with different views than our own, it's not the politicians and leaders we need to focus on, it's our neighbors. It's our loved ones. It's the people here in our community that we need to have these conversations with. Texas Representative James Tallarico reminds us that if we actually sat down and listened to each other and loved our enemies, that, I think, is the way out of all of this. In my lifetime, I have never experienced this level of partisan divide in the country. And the people in power want it this way. In fact, they are counting on it. Professor and author Michelle Dickerson was recently on The Daily Show, maybe you saw her, and she said this about the current situation. Once you convince people to shift blame horizontally, they don't look up vertically. Because if you look vertically, you see that the only trickle economics we're seeing now is trickle up. So wealth and income is trickling up from the middle class families to the top. But if you convince people that their enemy is horizontal, then they don't notice that there's a whole lot of wealth and income that's going up to others. When we look at where these divides are really coming from, we need to stop looking horizontally and start looking vertically. Representative Tallarico invites us to listen to one another and love our enemies, but remember, our neighbors are not our enemies. They're just people who are looking for safety and are doing the best that they can with what they've been given. Brene Brown reminds us that people are hard to hate close up. Move in. Speak truth to bullshit. Be civil. Hold hands with strangers. Strong back, soft front, wild heart. Move in, friends. Get close and listen. Be civil, but hold on to your values. Love those whom it is difficult to love. And when listening gets hard, breathe. Remember, listening does not grant the other side legitimacy. It grants them humanity, and it preserves our own. So ask yourself, what is the most loving thing that I can do right now? And just breathe. Beloveds, I'm going to invite you to sing with me. This is Be Still and Breathe. This is from our new virtual hymnal. And you can stay seated if you want for this one, or you can rise. We're going to be still and breathe together.
Be still and breathe. Be still and breathe. Listen to heartache. Listen to grief. Be still and breathe. Be still and breathe. Listen to gladness, listen to joy. Be still and breathe. Be still and breathe. Listen to anger, listen to hurt. Be still and breathe. Be still and breathe. Listen to beauty, listen to grace. Be still and breathe. Be still and breathe. Listen to you, listen to me. Be still and breathe. Be still and breathe. Be still and breathe. Be still and breathe.
Sometimes we can lose track of love. Human cruelty can estrange us from it. We can dwell in fear and anger. We can be lost in despair and confusion. We can be cut off from others and isolated in all-consuming self-concern. We can be so hurt that we close off feeling, receiving, or knowing that we are loved or that life is a gift. But love believes in all things. This means that love faces reality, faces what is and responds to it. It weeps with those who weep and laughs with those who rejoice. Love does not deny the existence of tragedy or the existence of beauty. Love trusts an ever larger benevolence and opens itself to even wider vistas, like we see on a summer night, out under the stars, when we feel the universe as a quilt stitched with tiny lights, wrapping us in a cradle of luminous darkness.
your son, pick your daughter, pick your long estranged father.
Pick your mother and her brother and your sister too.
Pick your neighbor, pick your neighbor's neighbor.
Pick their next door neighbor, hell, pick a stranger.
Pick that troll on the internet who's never met you. And love them too. Love them too. Find someone who's lost, who you don't trust, who can never know the cost of all you've given them, that you can never get back again.
Find a preacher,
Find a witch, introduce the poor to the
find
rich.
someone you don't understand, 'cause you thought they were a woman, now they're
Telling you they're a man, and love them too. Love them
find a victim, find a bully.
Over all that's good and holy.
Find someone you didn't see fit to shine your shoes. Pick a politician, pick them good,
'Cause we got everything and everyone to lose.
pick that news anchor on the station you hate, whose face makes you so mad that you don't got an excuse. You gotta
Love them too. Yeah, you gotta love them too. Yeah, you gotta love them too. Yeah, you gotta love them too. I would like to say how grateful I am to have such amazing congregation members that I can pull something together like that in 20 minutes with.
I also love ending the service with such inspiration. Thank you all. Please join me in saying the nope. I will say the challenge extinguishing our. All righty, there we go. We're going to do this together once again. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These carry in our hearts until we are together again. I was actually going to save that line for later, but now I see it's up there. So what we have coming next is inviting Don Barber up for an important financial update, and then we'll do a formal ending of our service.
So good morning. I've been attending this church for over 40 years, and I know exactly what happens when you hear the postlude and the chalice goes out, you start salivating. So just hang with me for just a second here. Can say that as consolation, I've been in several churches that actually do all their announcements at the end of the service. Then folks just go to the coffee hour and continue conversation. So maybe we'll try that today. The stewardship team has asked me in my role as treasurer to describe how pledges fit into our financial picture. So I'll start by stating that our church's revenue provides the financial resources for its operations, to pay for staff, provide for this facility and programming and the administration requirements. Our current budget for these operations is $483,000. But to put this in perspective, UUA data shows that our operation costs are in line with our New York peers at about $2,000 per member. Pledging and donations are the foundation. Actually, 75% of our revenue comes from pledging and donations, and this percentage supports by pledges are also in line with our peers. This is 75% of our revenue. So for your information, building rental is the next largest source at 12% of our revenue. So in round numbers, the average member contribution to fund operation is and needs to be $1,500 per year. So when thinking of your ability to pledge support for FUSIT, we fully recognize that some can contribute more and some less. But what is comforting and is working is that together our pledges do provide the foundation for financial nourishment of this liberal religion's community's wonderful staff, programming, and facilities that sustain us each week. So I want to thank you all for pitching in. Now let's go to have coffee together.